Yeah, to really talk about the great reinvention that we're undergoing, you have to really understand the great resignation and what's happened really over the last year, which every woman that I know in technology has had a conversation with me. I think you're in the same boat. So Tessa, you've really become this job doctor actually over the last couple of years, which has been really fun. But what are your thoughts on the great resignation? And then that can lead us into the great reinvention.
Well, it's both terrifying and exciting all at once. It was for me as well. I had to pivot my entire business and the way I did everything. And my clients, initially women, so terrified about the changes and what it would mean for them. And now that they have had to get uncomfortable, because that was the first thing, they have found, oh wow, this is actually really exciting because it opens up possibilities that they may never have thought of before in terms of what their career can look like or even what their workday can look like.
That's right. I think the biggest thing that changed is all of our mindsets. Like the way that we think about work, the way that we think about what's important to us, it changed. And when that changed, it created this need for us to create reinvention. My priorities, the things in my world that I care about, how am I going to make this the life that I love every day? And I think that's the reset that we now see.
Yeah, it affected me. We had some family issues that were pretty tough. Mental health issues with one of our children. And it required me, when I did go back to work, to think differently about work.
Yep.
And I think a lot of people have said, ooh, it can't be the same going back. I'm not going to do that again. And what it has created is this, well, then let's try this. And I think what I'm hearing is never be more loyal to a company than it can possibly be to you in return. That seems to encapsulate what I'm hearing people say. And when you feel that way, you make different decisions. You are now in the driver's seat about work opportunities, where it used to be, 20 years ago, we just went to work and said, what does the company have to offer? You either take it or leave it. And that is not the case anymore.
That's right. So when I think about our community of women in tech, right, and tech has undergone a massive change. And we were, talking about what this reinvention looks like for us. And I think the biggest driver is what we were just talking about. What is the world that I want to live in? How am I going to balance all the things that are coming at me for my life? What is important to me? And then how am I going to align that with the right opportunities? Because our priorities shifted and the weight that we're willing to give to things, it changed.
It did. And what's interesting about change is it's uncomfortable. It creates discomfort. But when you realize that the discomfort, you get through it, all of a sudden, it allows you to think about doing things that you wouldn't do before. Plus, there's careers coming forward that weren't here before.
Right.
Like, I'm hearing a lot about a digital officer. So blending AI and analytics with finding for the company the low-hanging fruit. How can they tweak what they sell and how they approach the customer? This is a really interesting career path, and I'm having a lot of women call me on it. And so it's exciting to see them move into this area. It's exciting to see them just look at tech.
That's right.
Right?
And our mindsets change, right? The things that we're willing to look at, how we solve problems, it's just such a great opportunity. And I think that's now what moved us actually from the first female recession into this reinvention where opportunities exist. There's so many opportunities out there. And as an employee, I get to architect what I want to become. I think it's a really amazing thing. And then I think it creates responsibility for companies and employers. But the opportunity we have to own our future, that's really amazing.
As a woman in the workforce, I've said for so long that you have access to the greatest population that you're not touching because they have wanted and said for a long time, I just need flexibility.
That's right.
I just need flexibility and I will be the most loyal worker that there is. And what I loved about the pandemic and hated was we had to work at home, but we realized that virtually any job could be done from the lowest level to the highest level can be done at home. And I hope employers don't forget very quickly that they got access to an underutilized group of talented people that if they keep up the ability to have a flexible or autonomous workforce, it will unleash so much in Utah in particular.
That's right. I think we're in this interesting balance of how do you unleash the talent, create this hybrid world that meets what everyone needs, and then also create the momentum. And I don't think we've figured it out yet, but we have all of these things coming at us, which is why the conversations are so critical, because together we figure this out.
That's right.
Okay, Tessa, you have this TikTok that is totally blown up. Right, we were just talking about one of your most popular topics, which was around what employers are doing with the Great Resignation. Like, what have you learned talking to engaging with this community?
I don't think employers really understand fully what's happened here. It's changed permanently. Okay, I think most people can get their arms around that. And we're in a place where the pendulum has swung from the employer holding the power to the employee holding the power. So
I say this all the time.
It's a big shift.
Employee owns the decision.
It's a big shift because it used to be we just had to do whatever the employer offered. It was a simple yes or no. Now people can go in and say, no, I don't think so much. That's not for me. In fact, my daughter is this nomad. Total nomad. She travels all over the place. She works from wherever she wants to. She saw Eat, Pray, Love in a movie, and then she decided that she was going to go travel there. And I said, you're going to get fired. You were going to get fired. She says, no, I have unlimited PTO. So she got a call from her boss, and her boss said, I need to meet with you privately. And I go, this is it. You're going to be fired. And she calls me up after, and I'm waiting to soothe her, and she goes, I just got promoted. And I think that just is so characteristic of what's happening in today's world, that there is more flexibility.
That's right. And we're embracing who those people are. I do think it's hard for employers.
Yes.
Because as someone building a company, we care about culture. We care about collaboration. We understand that if we build a connection together with our employees, that what that does for our company can be magical. And so then we find ourselves in this world of how do you satisfy all of the things that are going on so that you can let people live their best lives and help you the very best possible.
You said something that's really important. Employers have to see people unlike they've ever seen people. They have to see the whole person. People are not happy anymore to just be treated like a cog, in a system. But there's also something else going on that I don't think employers are putting together, and it's this shift of generations from Boomer and Y to Millennials and Z. And what's so interesting about it, if you go back far enough, it was all about one prescribed path, right? You worked,
That's right.
you bought a home and you retired. You had pensions, you had 401k. But if you look and fast forward to today, all of a sudden, 2.2 years for Gen Z is the average length of time in a job. Well, do you think a 401k is going to actually do the trick? That's a 4-year vest. So employers have to actually shift because we've gone from one prescribed path to options.
That's right.
Many options. Some like remote, some like coming into the office. Plus short-term thinking, from long-term thinking to short-term. So I think employers have to address differently the benefits package, the value proposition they offer, to something that speaks to more short-term thinking.
We've been related to that. We've had all these creative conversations around what do stock option packages look like?
Yes.
How do you think about what your refreshes look like on an annualized basis? How do you create a different type of way for incentives because of these timeframes? And I think there's a ton of opportunity there. I don't think we've unlocked them all, but you want people to be excited to show up every day. And people do that when they feel like they're fulfilled everywhere. And that's the key to this.
Yes.
And the other thing that I find is when they feel that way, they actually show up for you even in your office when you need them. If you can accomplish that, doing it at scale, I think it's hard. I think we have so many things to unlock, but we're at this cool time where for everyone, right? I might have 7 different careers by the time you're 40, right? That's the path that they're on. Fully different options. We should appreciate that, we should embrace it, and we should incent people to love what they're doing and to love working with us so that they stay and help build. And I think those are the conversations that you're invoking huge communities on, but everyone's hungry to have. Like, how do I navigate this? How do employers navigate this? And what can we do to make a difference?
I've been sharing with employers what it looks like, what the old package looks like, and the old value proposition, benefits, short and long-term disability, 401k, to what it looks like today. Options, mimic ownership, even if it's not a 4-year vest. Can you do a profit sharing that mimics ownership? You have to create a line of sight for people if you want them to stay more than 2 years. They have to know where their place can be and where they can go.
That's right.
And what's the argument? Is the company actually going to help me get there? So training's important.
That's right.
Leadership's important.
I totally agree. I believe that leadership has now changed.
Yes.
Right. I believe that if you do not become an empathetic leader who sees people and leans into them, people will not stay and work for you. And I think that's a big shift for a lot of people and individuals, because We've had people where, leadership meant butts and seats. It meant that you sat down the hall from me. It does not mean that in today's world. And if you think it does, it's very hard to recruit. So I think the recruit and retention cycle and this reshuffle, those are the things people are leaning in for decision making.
I just read a book on this, and they said the top-down management is gone. That's dead.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, what we used to call something that was more female-centric, and I wouldn't characterize it as that today, but something that's more sensitive to the whole individual,
Yeah.
to how people feel about things, to the whole person, becomes really, really critical. And I've said for a long time, one of the big career commandments I have is results are your greatest leverage. But
Totally.
I think for a leader, they can't just focus on results anymore, because that used to be the rule for them. They have to be able to honestly help people manage life. And that's different.
I actually like that add to results, right? Because I always think about, like, if I can just create the accountability structure, right, then I'll let you can do whatever you want, right? Like, as a woman growing up building my career, I had many opportunities to have this hybrid workforce. When I worked at Disney, I lived in Utah, I commuted. Like, I've had this opportunity that not everyone gets. So I think I've appreciated that, but I also see the changes that are coming, right? For how do I change my leadership style and bring in all of that talent and then make it sticky for them to stay, because they're doing great things, they have opportunities to learn, and we're creating really great evolution. And I don't think we've arrived on all the solutions yet.
Not even close. I mean, this one-size-fits-all idea that one size doesn't fit all anymore is true for leadership as well. It's true for companies. And there is no one right way. If there was, I would be very, very rich. You just have to be able to help companies understand who is their population, who do they want to attract, and how do they attract people up and down the scale that are people that have been maybe marginalized in the past. And if companies can be flexible, they can win. They can win the war on talent. If they are not, they are going to fall behind.
And I think we're already seeing that. Like, that line becomes really clear. The other thing I think that's most interesting about women in tech is they have different conversations about the types of companies they'll work for than sometimes their male counterparts. And these things that we're talking about now for everyone have always been part of that. Like, I think that flexibility conversation, it has been the stack ranking item for all women in tech that I have spoken with over the years, because it's so critical for them. And now it's just the conversation of everyone. And that changes, I think, opportunity for all. I actually think it increases opportunity for people, which is really cool.
Yeah, I think it does increase opportunity. We'll have to be careful, because there's some people who want desperately to get back to work and and there's something to the connection that you get with work, but not everybody wants to do that. So how do you combine remote? Let's say a woman wants to work remote and a lot of the workforce is back. How do you still create the connection that you need so that she can succeed or he can succeed?
And have promotion capabilities too.
Yes.
Right? Like that whole ladder. All these conversations for us are one of the impetus to creating the conversation at the Talent Summit, because everyone that we talk to, they're asking these questions, right? They're trying to figure out the things that are important to them. And I see people really struggling with these questions, both from employers and also from individuals. And the thing that I love about the opportunity to create a summit like this, I've decided I love hearing the stories from women. I love hearing who they are, the challenges they're faced with, and the vulnerability that most of them are willing to share when they share those stories, because that's what connects people, right? It's the stories, it's the emotion. It's someone else is in the same boat I am. They don't have it all figured out, and I can learn something from this story and then create something that works for me, for my family, for my life, for the path that I want forward. And I think I think that's also where you struck a chord in the things you're doing in TikTok, this ability to be authentic about the debates we're all internally having, and then creating ways that we can capture what we need to make everyone successful.
Well, you touched on something that's really important. You're saying, let's learn from others. And people haven't talked a lot about how do you have those conversations. And I actually think that's why I struck a chord. I'd say, I've seen thousands of people talking, and I see what doesn't work and what does work. And when you get to hear somebody else's journey, or the way they handled a situation that's difficult, especially when it's a communication that might be difficult, I think it helps. Us learn how to do that, because that's also a generational thing. It's harder to have tough conversations, and in today's world, you're going to have tough conversations because there's so many choices.
That's right. Yeah, as someone who's running a company, I feel like I have tough conversations every day, right? Because it's the nature of building a business. I was talking with one of my senior leaders, and he said, and he made this reflection that great companies are built by leaders willing to care about the people, right? And I think that that's the place that we're at. So I would just, say, like, everyone should join this conversation, right? Follow what's happening, learn from each other. The Talent Summit is coming up on May 4th, which is also May the 4th be with you for my Star Wars loving friends. I have to leverage that. But it's a great opportunity to hear the stories from women who are making decisions and companies who are leaning into helping us figure this out. We always know we've not arrived. It's an entire journey, but the journey together seems to lead to much stronger outcomes. So the Women Tech Council Talent Summit, which is happening on May 4th, is this opportunity to bring together all these conversations on talent. This year, it is from the great resignation to the great reinvention, because that's really what's happening right now. Right? We've gone through people switching jobs, so much churn, to this reinvention about what's happening. At the event, you'll have an opportunity to hear from 8 women and their stories of what it's meant to be on the reinvention side, how it's personally affected them, where they're at today. We have a conversation around women on boards. We have a conversation around what's happening to help women shatter the glass ceiling. And we actually have companies talking about how they've leaned in to really handle what's happening to retain and attract talent in this new world. So it covers the gamut. It's for all women in technology and for anyone who's really trying to navigate this. It's going to be a great event. It's a half-day summit at the barn at Thanksgiving Point.